An FS Concepts interview with Time Pro Cycling's Jered Gruber. Jered, tell us a little bit about the team you're riding on and what your role has been this far in the season.
Well, the team is a developmental professional team with the hopes of moving along younger riders to bigger and better things with a small core of captains, 3 of which are hopefully directing us and helping lead us on the road and in races. My role so far this year has been to, I guess, basically be a team player. I've tried to make a lot of breaks, tried to be an effective lead-out guy / person that can get the guy to the front at the right time.
Have you been successful in doing that?
Sometimes yes, sometimes absolutely not. The making the break part I've done pretty poorly at. A few notable times I've done pretty well, making sure people are in the right spot at the right time, and I think lead-outs are something that should come around at some point.
So you've been working on your lead out a little bit. What's the one thing or 2 things that you've learned about giving lead outs that maybe you didn't know before this year that you could pass on to somebody?
Definitely communication between the guy you're leading out and yourself. That's crucial. And one notable time, I was leading out Adam, and just being able to be calm in that situation, because it seems like every second is super vital and super crucial, and definitely patience is the key, and waiting as long as possible. So we went and released in a lap too early, and it didn't work. Also knowing how hard to go and when is pretty important, I've noticed. I mean, you'd think that you just need to get up and go really fast, when it's definitely go as slow as possible to ultra fast as you can. Not really just get up and sprint, but just kind of slowly work up to a really fast speed, and then just go as hard as you can for as long as you can. Definitely avoiding being swarmed is another crucial part that happened in another circumstance where I just got swarmed with like a lap and a half to go, and it's just having the horsepower to be able to overcome that and not panicking either.
So you said one of your roles this year has been to maybe be a little aggressive, be in breakaways, whether you start them or you're in them. What has been, you said that necessarily wasn't going that great, so what's been the Achilles heel with that?
Man, I mean, at these bigger races, there's just been there's so much more firepower, you know? Like, it's easy to say, oh, I want to be in an early break, but when the field's going 55k an hour and people are attacking at 60k an hour, it's a whole other thing entirely when you're just trying not to get dropped. It's definitely been the goal is to definitely make breaks, but it's like, especially like the first road stage at Redlands, it's basically impossible. Like, it was just, I mean, it wasn't impossible, obviously, since apparently, and then I have to deal with the fact too that trying to make these breaks puts you deep pretty quickly if you go for one of these breaks. And that happened to me at Sea Otter. I went for a break and I went a little too deep, and I was pegged from then on out, and it was just a matter of time before I got dropped. So it's kind of like you got to find sort of a happy medium between being aggressive and not ending your race immediately.
But given like your dynamics or the role of the team, when the director says we need you to go in a breakaway or try to get in a breakaway, are they still complimentary of the fact that you're attempting, or is it you need to make the breakaway, and if you don't want to go back to the band because you want to get yelled at? Like, what's been the morale of the team this far with guys getting results or not getting results or trying to get results?
No, I mean, nobody's ever been hard on me about it. I mean, a couple races I've just been completely useless, like Garrett Lemire. I had nothing that day, you know, and then they've been pretty understanding of me just sometimes not having it. And I mean, I think that's really cool, and it's a good attitude, because I mean, not every day. I mean, especially for, I guess, me, I've had a history of not being 100% every single day, and so they haven't been too hard on me, and pretty understanding, and it's definitely appreciated. But you also know that when you don't do it or you haven't done it, it still weighs on me, Like I don't just go back happy, I finished the race, whatever. But, it's just, I'd like to complete my duty, but sometimes I just can't.
So, you went to California. A lot of the races that you referenced, the Seattle, the Garrett Lamar, the Redlands, they're all California races. This was your first go at them, being a Neo Pro. It's a harder racing. It's a harder trip. You're not used to being on the road that much. So, with the racing, with the training, with the lifestyle out there, I mean, if you had to rate your trip and the success of it, how would you rate it, and what would you change about it at this point?
Well, looking back at it, I'm not terribly happy with it. I think it's a tough trip to make. Obviously, it's a long trip, but it's also it's tough in terms of training because you have to be good every weekend. You can't really train through the races, and being on that trip for basically 6 weeks or something. I mean, not training really that much during that time it put me right behind the 8 ball. I mean, now I'm in a bad spot, but I think personally I'd like to, if I went to there without being a superstar, which in this tournament I think in some ways you have to be really good if you hope to be competitive in California. And if you're not one of those people that can be a top 10 contender there, then it's a great way to get some really good training, and you get some ultra hard races on the weekend, and then you train during the week, and you can do some incredible work. But instead, I did a lot of resting and then just raced on the weekend. So I still think that's a hard tightrope to walk, because training after Redlands is kind of hard because you're pretty tired after that. So I don't know. I still haven't quite figured out how to best reach a good point in terms of training and racing if I ever did that again. But it was definitely an eye opener.
So you went to California. You had a role as a member of the team. You had races to do. You had training to do. You had a lifestyle to live out there. So, aside from the racing knowledge that you gained, introspectively, what did you learn about yourself through this training, through this racing, and through this living that maybe you didn't know about yourself